Throughout history, some people did more than just live. They shaped the world. Maps changed, routes opened, and civilizations connected. And sometimes, at the center of these turning points, there was a single name. In the 13th century, Europe knew very little about the East. It was a land of myths, rumors, and mystery. One of the men who illuminated this unknown world was Marco Polo. Born in Venice in 1254, Marco Polo was the son of a merchant family. His father, Niccolo, and his uncle Mafia Polo were experienced traders who had already traveled the Silk Road to the East. When Marco was still young, the journey that would change his life began. In 1271, the Polo family left Europe and set out toward the depths of Asia. This was no ordinary journey. It would last not months, but years. Mountains, deserts, storms, and unknown lands lay ahead, but there was no turning back. After a long and difficult journey, Marco Polo arrived at the court of Kublai Khan, ruler of one of the most powerful empires in history, the Mongol Empire. This was not just a visit, it was a moment that would shape history. Kublai Khan was impressed by Marco's intelligence, observation skills, and storytelling. Marco Polo did not remain merely a guest. For years, he served within the empire, traveling to distant regions, observing cities, cultures, and administrative systems. At that time, Europe had almost no real knowledge about China, Central Asia, or the riches of the Far East. Marco Polo witnessed this world firsthand. He saw the use of paper money. He studied vast postal systems. He observed the organization of enormous cities. He learned how silk, spices, gold, and trade networks functioned. For Europe, these were astonishing discoveries. After nearly 24 years of travel, Marco Polo returned to Venice in 1295. But he was no longer the young man who had left. He had seen the world, experienced different civilizations, and uncovered the unknown. Yet the story did not end there. During a war, Marco Polo was captured and imprisoned, and it was here that one of history's most influential books was created. While in prison, he dictated his experiences to a writer named Refuge. These accounts were later compiled into the book, The Travels of Marco Polo. This book had a profound impact on Europe. For the first time, people learned about the vastness of China, the wealth of Asia, and the reality of the East. Marco Polo's writings were not just travel stories. They ignited the spirit of exploration. Even Christopher Columbus carried Marco Polo's book with him on his voyage. Marco Polo was the man who connected continents. He did not just travel, he made the unknown known. He built a bridge between East and West. His story reminds us of one truth. Exploration is not only about discovering new lands, it is about understanding the world. And sometimes, a single journey can change the course of history. Marco Polo did not change maps. He changed mindsets. Ever wondered if the greatest traveler in history was also the greatest storyteller? Let's talk about Marco Polo, the Venetian merchant whose journey to the far-off land of Cathay, or China, would change the world forever. Picture this. It's the 13th century. A young Marco Polo, along with his father and uncle, embarks on an epic adventure. This isn't a quick flight. It's a grueling, years-long trek across deserts, mountains, and vast, unfamiliar territories. They followed the legendary Silk Road, a network of trade routes buzzing with merchants, mystics, and mercenaries. For a boy from Venice, every step was a revelation, a new world unfolding before his eyes. After more than 3 years, they finally reached the court of Kublai Khan, the powerful Mongol emperor and grandson of Genghis Khan. The Khan was fascinated by these Europeans. He took a particular liking to the bright and observant Marco, who quickly learned the local languages and customs. For the next 17 years, Marco Polo didn't just stay in the palace. He became a trusted envoy for the emperor himself. Kublai Khan sent Marco on missions all across his massive empire. From the bustling cities of the south to the remote lands of Tibet and Burma, Marco saw things that no European had ever dreamed of. He witnessed the use of paper money, a concept completely alien to Europe at the time. He saw coal, which he called black stones, being burned for heat. He marveled at the empire's incredibly efficient postal system, with relay stations and swift messengers that could cover hundreds of miles in a single day. He described grand cities with canals like Venice, but on a much larger scale. He spoke of vast palaces with roofs tiled in gold and imperial banquets that fed thousands. He saw strange and exotic animals and tasted spices that were worth more than gold back home. Everything he saw, he remembered, logging it all away in his mind. After 24 years away from home, the Polos finally made their way back to Venice. They had been gone so long that their own families barely recognized them, but their story was just beginning. A few years later, during a naval conflict, Marco was captured and thrown into a Genoese prison. It was Tere telling his tales to a fellow inmate, a writer named Rusticolo da Pisa, that his legendary book, The Travels of Marco Polo, was born. When the book was released, many people didn't believe him. Te cayetit il million, or the million lies. Tales of a river filled with pearls, of magical rites, and of a land of unimaginable wealth seemed too fantastical to be true. Was he exaggerating? Maybe a little. He was a merchant, after all, and a good story sells. But the core of his account was real. Despite the skepticism, his book became a medieval bestseller. It opened Europe's eyes to the wonders of the East, painting a vivid picture of a sophisticated and wealthy civilization far beyond their own. And its influence was immense. For centuries, explorers and mapmakers pored over its pages. It's said that Christopher Columbus himself carried a heavily annotated copy on his voyage across the Atlantic, convinced he could reach the riches Marco Polo described. So, was Marco Polo a liar or a legend? The truth is, he was both. He was a courageous explorer who ventured into the unknown and a masterful storyteller who brought the wonders of that world back with him. His journey didn't just cross continents, it connected worlds, firing the imagination of generations and lighting the spark for the age of discovery. His legacy proves that sometimes the stories we tell can change the map of the world. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more amazing stories from history.